Welcome to the Immortal Gates of Pyre Steam test. I'm gonna go over a basic introduction to the game and try to guide you through some of the basic mechanics. Right, so starting out, most of the buttons on the menu are pretty self-explanatory. Quick play will put you in a matchmaking, either 2v2 or 1v1. And custom games allow you to create or join a lobby. The Learn tab up here is pretty important. Here in these basics, you're going to have the most important information that you're going to need to play Immortal. I would recommend going through these if you haven't played before. Next is your tech trees and powers, like Immortal powers. This is pretty helpful for learning about the specific Immortal you want to play. On the left, you have the special Vanguard units and the abilities of each Immortal. And on the right is the tech tree. You can hover over each building or unit to see their time to build, their cost, and their population when applicable. After the tech trees and powers tab, we have the roles and traits. One of the most helpful aspects of Immortal's design is that all units fit into some basic categories. They're mostly self-explanatory, right? If you're lost as for what to build, a few of the most useful roles to look for are the zone control, the generalist, and or the air killer role, and the frontliners. Depending on your goals with your army, these units are almost always useful and usually form the backbone of any capable force. If you want some more advanced armies, look for the damage casters, the artillery, the anti-light, and the anti-armor units. So, damage casters usually have some very useful abilities that can hit a large area of enemies, dealing lots of damage or crowd controlling them. Artillery can do massive damage from range, but are vulnerable to being rushed and require some thinking when it comes to positioning. Units with the anti-light trait are great for harassing worker lines and are a very effective strategy in the early game when players only have access to the most basic units. Units with the anti-armor trait are great for killing enemy units with heavy armor, of course, but will also deal large damage to buildings, as the buildings in Immortal all have heavy armor. Okay, got all that? No? That's fine. You can ignore most of the specifics when you're just starting out. The roles and traits offer great direction when you're trying to figure out why you died, but they aren't hardline rules. Always remember that quantity has a quality all on its own. Alrighty, moving back to the main menu. If you click in the center of the screen, you can change your selected Immortal. I think I'm going to be Mala anyway though. If you click the Create button, you can start to create a lobby. First, you'll select a map, either the 1v1 or the 2v2 map. Do note, however, that you can play the 2v2 map in 1v1 if you want to. Clicking Next will send you to the main lobby screen. Here you can see everyone in the lobby, and the teams for the players, also the spectators. After you sort that out, you can click Choose Immortal and you'll come to a similar screen. You can select in the middle and change your Immortal, but to start the game, you're going to want to click the Ready Up. If you decide you're not ready and you want to cancel the countdown, you can click this X. I am going to load into a game here though and continue. While loading into your match, move your eyes down here and you can see a tip about the game and strategy. So this one is talking about how you should kill enemy workers and ether extractors to slow down your opponent's progress making army. Once you load in, you're going to be confronted by the Build Assist menu. It explains itself pretty well, but basically if you start to float over 1,000 alloy, the game will begin to build things for you. We start with 1 stronghold and 8 workers already mining. You'll want to protect these because If you lose all of your strongholds, you lose the game. And if you kill all of your enemies' strongholds, you win the game. The other way to win or lose a game of Immortal is to click escape here and click the GG button. When you GG, it'll automatically kill all of your bases, and it'll come up with a little GG emote. It's common practice when your opponent GGs to GG also, because it shows like good manners and there's no in-game checks chat just yet. Moving on, here is the Elder Vault. The Elder Vault produces scouts automatically for you up to 3, and it will make more if they happen to die. Additionally, the Elder Vault gives you 10 alloy per second on its own, which makes it a good target, being that it only has 1000 HP. It makes it a good target if you can't kill workers or the stronghold in an attack. Do note, however, that the Elder Vault cannot be permanently destroyed, and it will rebuild itself if it
set
dies.
of eyes for the hunter's path.
Alrighty, given I've just mentioned alloy, alloy is the primary resource in Immortal. You use alloy for everything from buildings to units to upgrades. It is primarily mined from alloy clusters by workers, and you can see how much you have down here on the HUD. I'm going to use some of this alloy, I think, by pressing C or by clicking down here on the command card. I'm then going to build an ether extractor by either pressing tab or by clicking here. Notice how I didn't select a worker. In Immortal, you don't need to select a worker. You instead have a global build menu that you can always select, and a worker will be chosen based on their distance and whether or not they are currently idle. Rightio, so while this is building, let's explain our secondary resource. Ether is your more advanced resource. It is used for higher tiers of units and buildings. It is also used for research. Ether is extracted from geysers automatically by using ether extractors, or by clicking on your stronghold, you have the ability to do an ether surge. When you do an ether surge, you can temporarily mine from an ether geyser. Given that our extractor has just finished, let's take a look at one of the cooler things you can do in Immortal. So let's say you have a bunch of ether, maybe 500 plus, that you don't need. What you can do is you can click on your extractors and you can make them mine alloy instead. You can toggle them over to alloy harvesting. Whilst they're mining alloy, they're going to deplete from the main alloy cluster. So this allows you to have more income at the drawback of depleting your alloy cluster quicker. Moving on, at this point, we might start to get worried about defense. At our disposal, once loading into the game, are 2 tower cores. One usually near our main strongholds, and one further out. Tower cores act as you'd expect. They're towers. They hit enemies when they come close. And tower cores themselves can be upgraded to full-on towers by clicking on them and either clicking here on the command card or pressing tab. I'm going to do that. We're going to morph this into a full-size tower. Now, what did I say that you needed to upgrade these? That's right, Pyre. Okay, Pyre is the third resource in Immortal, and by far the most interesting. You primarily gain Pyre by killing Pyre camps, and you can see these on the map, these little Pyre icons. They look like this as well. Additionally, you gain Pyre passively, as you can see it ticking up. And also littered across the map are these things, ruined emplacements. When you kill these, you get 10 Pyre. There are other ways of getting Pyre, more Immortal specific ways, based on certain abilities and passives. Another way is every time you kill a scout, you get 3 Pyre. Going back to defense, another way that we would want to defend ourselves is by making static defenses. But you don't start by being able to make static defense, so we need to unlock it. To unlock it for Aru, and this does change per faction, to unlock it for Aru, we need to build a root cradle, which is our basic upgrade structure. To build your basic upgrade structure, you hold down space and you can either click here or press tab and you can create your upgrade structure. Now for Ari, this is going to unlock our static defenses. For other immortals and other factions, that could be different. Our Root Cradle is our basic attack and armor upgrades, right? To see our upgrades, we can go over to the tech menu. So the tech menu down here on your command card, you can either click or press X, and here you will be able to see all of the research that you have available, right? So we have our attack and our defense upgrades here, and also a special ability. Most upgrades in the game, most research is going to be stat buffs and abilities for units based on other tech buildings that you can get by holding down spacebar, right? Next thing, we can build our newly unlocked defenses. The build menu by pressing C or clicking on the command card, and then we can press F and place down some defense. And this is going to ensure that our valuable workers and buildings are well defended from attacks. Continuing along the line of defense,
has grown new defenses.
Continuing with our defense, we should start to build an army for ourselves. To do so, let's once again press C, select a worker, or click on the command card, and let's make our basic production structure. To make your tier 1 or basic production structure, you can press W or you can click here on the command card and select where you want to build it. One thing you'll notice is that we haven't needed to create any sort of population structure. That's because in Immortal, you don't need to. In Immortal, population is increased by building production structures themselves. Each production structure gives you 16 population. While this is building, let's go ahead and make another one. So once this is finished, we can go to the units training tab by pressing Z or by clicking on the command card here. And here you'll be able to see all the units that you can create. All right, so let's go ahead and do that.
We cannot do this.
So this is interesting. We've hit our training limit, but we still have some population available. That's because each production structure itself can only create 10 population of units at a time, right? So now that we've finished our second one, let's try and make some more of our units.
Such a thing cannot be attempted.
Another thing about pressing Z is that when you press Z, you select all of the production buildings that you have, and if you right-click on the ground somewhere, you're going to set the global rally point. This includes the rally point for the Elder Vault, so scouts will also go there. Alright, cool. So we have some units now. Let's go ahead and select all of them by clicking D, or by pressing D or by clicking on the command card here. All of your army units automatically get added to the D control group, and you can change their control group by holding down space and then clicking your desired control group hotkey. So for me, I'm just going to do that on 1. So it doesn't look like much happened, but if we press D again, you'll see that they are deselected, and if I click 1, we can see that they are on control group 1. It should be noted that units cannot exist in multiple control groups, so maybe I can add these dudes to control group D again. So I select 1 D. They can't exist in multiple control groups at the same time. Think using the add and steal hotkeys in StarCraft 2. This also means that units will always be in a control group once added, and this also includes buildings. So if you accidentally say add them to control group 2, every single time you click 2, they're going to be selected, and there's no way to remove them from control groups, short of them dying. Another thing you can do is you're able to shift click, like shift deselect units. You can either do that by holding down shift and clicking them individually, or by, if we select all of them, you can select them down here, and it'll select some random units. Additionally, if you wanted to select just one of a unit type in your control group, you can just click on their portrait. That will select one. If you want to select all of a specific unit type, you can hold down control and then click, and you will select all of the units of a type in a selection. Additionally, you can also control click to select all units of the same type on your screen. Now that we've got that out of the way, let's go do something. I'm gonna go kill a Pyre camp. So, once you're here, Pyre camps are naturally neutral, so that means that they're not going to attack you. To start them attacking you, you can click on a unit specifically. And once they are aggroed, you can move your units around and then A-click to attack move. Additionally, if you go into your options and game, you can select attack move target fires. So that means that whenever you click your attack move hotkey, if you select a specific unit, it will act like target fire. Okay, after we've done that, and we've picked up some Pyre, we can notice that our units have taken some damage. Now let's go over to this tower over here and we'll see another interesting game mechanic. Alright. You can see our damaged units are regaining health, because in Immortal, full towers heal units that are in a radius around them. And now that our units are all healed up, let's go kill one of these ruined emplacements. So as you can see, as I said before, it gives you 10 Pyre, but we're also interested in this right here. Under the ruined emplacements are tower foundations. Upon tower foundations, you can place, surprisingly enough, towers. To place a tower, regardless of Immortal, you can press V, which will open up your Pyre abilities menu, and then you can click Q, you can press Q, or you can click here in the command card, and you can summon a tower.
Shelter to the worthy, death to the trespasser.
You can only place these on tower foundations. Isn't that neat? So, placing towers costs 50 Pyre, and they can be pretty useful for vision and map control, but we have to remember that we have other Pyre abilities that could be more useful than a tower in a fight. Just depends on what Immortal you have. Let's focus our attention back to macro now that we've mined out our alloy cluster. You can expand by opening the build menu and by pressing Q or selecting here on the command card, and then you can click here on these. You can only place expansions on stronghold foundations. Expanding is the main way that you increase your economic power in RTS games more generally, and it is no different in Immortal. Except that if we skip to when it finishes building, we can see that this stronghold has a maximum number of workers of 4 only. To fix this, we can select our stronghold, and we can upgrade it by either pressing Q or by clicking here on the command card. After that, we could, make ether extractors and make more buildings and tech and other things, and just continue building. Speaking of which, the way that we've done this is obviously not how you would want to start a game of Immortal. So I think I'm going to quickly go through a basic build.
Another temple.
Very basic. We're just going to kill our first Pyre camp, but we're going to go through a basic builds that you can do with any Immortal.
Rises from the deep way.
Alright, upon loading in, the first thing you should do is grab your scout and send them across the map. We want to see if our opponent is expanding first or if they're doing something sneaky. Alright, next, what you're going to do is you're going to take a worker and you're going to rally them down to the natural. You don't have to rally the worker, but because you're not doing anything, you might as well.
An acropolis shall rise here.
Once we start, building our expansion, the next thing is to build our basic production structure. So I guess I'll just use the C menu for that. And then after we've done that, the next thing is an ether extractor. We want ether.
More alloy for the blessed foundries.
It's 175 alloy. Make an ether extractor, and then next we'll make another production structure. I'm gonna set my value
Heaven's
point
eyes grow.
as well. I use the construction menu again.
Angelic shrine summoned.
Once these start to
forges
finish,
require
we'll
more
begin
shrine
training our
complete.
army like before.
We cannot do as you bid.
Okay, once we've started training all of our army and they start to finish, the next thing is to upgrade our expansion, which we can do at 400 alloy. I'll just send this scout over here. Right, 400 alloy, upgrade the expansion. Next thing is we want to make a tech structure with all this ether that we have. So we'll open up the build menu, and because I'm playing Ajari, I'm going to go for the reliquary by pressing W. Most Immortals, both of the factions that we have right now, can go for Q or W. Just depends on what you want to do. Righty. Once you've got your army, we can go ahead and take a Pyre camp. We'll go take the same one that we did before. But seeing as we have a bunch of alloys, before we do that, we might as well place down a couple more production structures so that after this we can continue to make
Angelic
more
shrine
army.
summoned.
So given that the reliquary is just finished, what I can do is I can go to the tech tab and I can research this upgrade. This is going to upgrade my Safari, make them faster.
Blessed are those who serve. Archangel present.
Take this in placement. Yeah. Okay.
The pride of Kara stands ready. The legion
So
is gathered.
usually at this stage in the game, once you've got, you know, these production structures finishing, I'm going to make the unit that I unlocked with my tech building, and then maybe finish it out with
I
more
am
Safari.
afraid this is
At
impossible.
this point, you would want to probably try to attack your opponent and go for an expansion.
No evil.
So given that I have the alloy now, we can go for an expansion.
Eriotentan.
But that's pretty much it.
Eriotentan Terastil. Heartsteel.
Annexation initiated.
The next thing would be to continue along your
The
tech
legion is gathered.
thing and probably look
The
to
legion is gathered.
attack your opponent on the other side of the map. Obviously, I don't have one. But that's pretty much as far as we can go here without getting more
Citadel begins
specific.
its holy vigil.
Before I go though, we'll go through some basic stuff. There are camera locations if you're familiar with other RTS games. So to set those, usually you would hold down Control and then click whatever the hotkey was for that, and then to like go back to it, you would hold Shift and then do it. You can change all of these, by the way, so you have to be in game, but you can change your hotkeys by clicking hotkeys after escape, and then you have all of your hotkeys. You have a bunch of, so these would be all of the keys that you would use to jump to end set, I guess, but they work off of a modifier. So I have, instead of Shift, I have it set to left alt, and all of my camera locations are different. But look, my set camera modifier is the same. Anyway, you can change all of your hotkeys
We have successfully summoned an
while you're
accomplice.
in game by pressing escape and go to hotkeys. You can't do this from the main menu, but you can just load into a solo game like I have done here and do it. Other than that, explore for yourself. You can change scroll speed. You can a bunch of other things. Change it so that the advanced layer is a toggle, so you don't have to hold it down. I don't know what this one does. You can turn build assist on or off from this menu. You get it. Anyway, with that being everything, thanks for watching. If you want more specific tutorials, I will have one on each Immortal and one going through each faction's tech tree. But yeah, thanks for watching,
Angelic shrine summoned.
and good luck, have fun.